Everybody knows Deshaun is a franchise quarterback for the Houston Texans. But now we've got to have him take the next steps. So when people see him, they're like, wow, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL. My name is Quincy Avery, owner and president of Quarterback Takeover. I'm responsible for making the best quarterbacks in the world a little bit better. Deshaun and I have been working together since his 11th grade year in high school. Deshaun's had the opportunity to be in the NFL for 4 years, which means he's built up a bank of knowledge on these teams for 3 years in terms of what are they throwing at him at the NFL level. What are areas that I can improve on? And then we just build upon that. So we see things that defense have done in order to be successful against him. And now we're like, okay, how do we attack those things? In terms of making quarterbacks better, like to triangulate on 3 things: the mental side, the physical side, and then overall confidence. On the mental side, we're always doing things to help them in order to process information better, understand better what their team is doing and how they need to move forward, and also what the opposing team is doing to them on defense. And then from the physical side, I have a number of different drills that we go through, everything that a quarterback could do on the field. We want to make sure their feet are in great positions, their arm is moving correctly, and they're always on base and balance. And then in terms of the confidence, I'm going to put you in the most difficult positions possible throughout our workouts so that you know that no matter what gets thrown at you on game day, they know that they're ready for whatever comes their way. Immediately when the season ends, we start building out our improvement plan. Like, what are the areas that we need to improve on? And then we work all the way through the season. So this drill that we're working on right here with Deshaun is 2 things. It's one, the worst position possible drill, and we're working on kickback. When we talk about the worst position possible, the absolute worst thing that you can do is have your throwing hand side, right? So for most right-handed quarterbacks, their right side facing down the line of scrimmage, right? So if your right shoulder is facing down the field, that's really an awful position because there's literally nothing you can do in order to throw the football. We call it the worst position possible because you know that you're going to have to get out of that position and get to a position where your left shoulder is facing down the field, and there's nothing harder than that. And then the kickback is the movement that he does where he pivots and pushes away with his left foot. And that's just an over-exaggerated movement. Oftentimes he'll be able to do that same thing with his left shoulder facing down the field and kick back as it resets and works his way through progressions. And then we added in the worst position possible so that he had to get his balance as he's rotating 180 degrees and kicking back. So we just want to make every drill that we do a little bit more difficult than the situations that you're going to get in the game. And that's all we're doing here. We added in the ladder element to get him moving and get his feet going before the drill. But then it's quickly just the ability to reset, set his line so that he's facing in a straight line to his target, even though he's moving not only 180 degrees, but pushing back away from the line of scrimmage 1.5 yards to 2 yards. Each session that I spend with a guy on the field is roughly 1.5 hours, so we're trying to get about 120 throws in that workout session. As you see on that drill, you see Deshaun running back up to the line of scrimmage. Well, one of the things that we do to add a level of physical stress or just conditioning stress is following each rep, he'll get a half sprint in. So he'll sprint down the field 25 yards and he'll sprint back 25 yards. That just creates a level of fatigue that really is game-like and probably a little bit more stress than a typical game. And then immediately from that, he hops right into a drill. And that drill, he's setting up and doing a 5 and a hitch footwork. And then from there, he's doing the movements that quarterbacks consistently do in the pocket, whether it's the subtle movements you see on those shuffles or the pop movement where he goes over the back line and he's kicking back, right? That's a kickback that we talked about before, just being able to create separation from the line but still being balanced, and then pushing his way back up in the pocket, back on platform. And then those subtle movements again, and you see quarterbacks do those time and time again in the pocket when there's a little bit of traffic or a lineman in the way and they're just trying to create a little bit of space so they can throw the ball. And then we have to finish it off with getting our back foot right underneath us so we can drive the ball down the field and create a consistent throwing motion, that one that we created through all of our warm-up throws, right? We want to be in a position where we're throwing from the same spot we've always thrown it. As I'm creating these drills, a lot of it is just me being a problem solver. Like, I'm looking in games, understanding the movements that are taking place, then how can I recreate that in a drill situation? So they have to manipulate the drill in the same way they have to manipulate the pocket, but then always making sure I remember what the main thing is that we're trying to get out of it. And that's trying to get guys in position where they can consistently throw the ball accurately and with energy. And then I'll also not only watch other trainers in the football space, but watch other trainers in different forms, like baseball trainers, basketball trainers. All these guys are equally as creative, and they're always trying to solve problems. And a lot of the things that we're doing are consistent in terms of having great balance, being in a powerful position, and then being able to execute at that moment. The philosophy that I take is a ground up approach. And what I mean by that is we really start at the feet. How do we get ourselves in a position where our feet are always in a position to make the right throws? And not only the right throws, but be consistent and be the same throw each time you step on the field. After each movement, you're always in a position that you're comfortable in. I want you to be in a position where you've thrown the football from 1,000,000 times. Then we work through the hips, and then we start understanding the rotation process. How do I generate ground force, which is the ability to put force in the ground and then it come out of your hand. We want to make sure that we maximize on every opportunity, and that means generating maximum force. And then from there, the X's and O's, and understanding what people are doing to us. What is our offense? We do mental training with a guy named Seth Mikowski and myself, and we're just trying to make sure guys are going through the process the right way, no matter what situation they're in. And one of the ways that we get to that is using chess, because in chess, each time you approach the board, you have to attack it the same way. You have to understand where you're threatening them at, and then how can you make a forceful move. And that's the same exact thing that you have to do every time you approach the line of scrimmage. The ability to take the game of football and all those different stresses and put it in chess, I think it's tremendously helpful. Deshaun and I started playing chess a little over a year ago, and we started out at the smallest entry level to chess, like just understanding how the board's set up. Then after you get that, then what are pieces worth? Like what's their value? And then how does each piece move? How does each piece attack? Since he's understood how to play chess, we've just continued to ramp it up in terms of our development, and he's sharing it with his Texans teammates now. So it's really cool to hear him talk about how he uses it in games and in practice. He talked about a throw he missed last week in practice, but immediately just switching his mind to chess, like, yeah, I'm going to make a bad move, but how do I take it to the next play or make the next move great? Every time that we use chess, we use it in conjunction with the thing that we're working on the field. Are we working on openers, right? How to start the game? Then we'll start working on opening moves with chess. Are we in mid-game, in the middle of the field, just working on a variety of different things? Are we in the end game, which is like the red zone for us? It's the toughest place in the field to get a completion, and it's the toughest thing in the world to do at the end of a chess game, to finish it off with a checkmate. So we'll typically have Seth out there, and he'll be on the iPad, and they'll be going through the moves on the board and then switching back and transitioning with me on the field. It's really cool to quickly go back and forth from the purely mental part in terms of the chess and then the real physical part in terms of the workout and the training. A great example of a way that chess kind of comes into play is the Buffalo Bills playout game, where they go cover zero and they're bringing pressure from his left side, and they just got one more defender over there than he could block, and he wasn't aware of that till like a split second later. Wanted to make a throw, but that got taken away. So they had an overload in terms of they got two people on a position where you would want one, and you'd want to be able to bring over an additional guy in a game of chess or an additional blocker in the NFL. But they got home. But then Deshaun makes his special plays, the Superman plays, where he's able to spin out of a tackle and still allow that pass to be completed so they could go on to win the game. That's kind of how we're using chess, so those situations don't have to happen, where he doesn't have to do the super physical stuff, but he can just do it completely with his mind, creating that process. Oh, I see an extra guy over here. How can I get my lineman to bump out, push out one so we can get that taken care of? After a game 2 years ago, Deshaun was playing against the Tennessee Titans, and it was a late game situation. He scrambled and just extended the play a little bit too long and threw the ball down the field. It ended up being like a 40-yard completion, but the time expired. And then a superintendent of a school in Texas talked about, see, that's why you can't trust a black quarterback. And to think about all the things that Deshaun has done in terms of being a great player, a great person, and looking out for so many different people, and then someone to still say something like that about him, let us know that we're not in a place that is totally accepting of a black quarterback. They might be accepting of exceptionally talented black quarterbacks like the Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilsons, Lamar Jacksons, but the average black quarterback, you don't see those guys in the NFL. And that, to me, is problematic. But I wanted these guys to know that there's a place where they could feel supported, they could talk about things that they were going through, and then we created a community of quarterbacks who looked out for each other. In 2019, I created the Black Quarterback Club, which was really to give an opportunity to all different black quarterbacks to just talk about some of the things that black quarterbacks were going through in order to be successful, and also talk about things that the guys before us went through in order to get us to where we are now. The first year that we did it, it was just like a convention or a town hall and allow guys to talk. We had greats like Warren Moon talk about things that he went through and quarterbacks of today, and I hope to move forward. And it's not only that, but a camp where we're getting on the field as well. NFL quarterbacks are really, really responsive. They came out, they spoke, they talked to guys, they exchanged numbers, and they're always asking and reaching out about the college guys and how they're doing. Guys know that they have some place where they can go, where they can see guys who look like them, who've been through the things that they're going through, who they can relate to about the things that they want to do. We've created a system where people are looking out for each other, and they care, and they want the next guy to do well. In terms of joining the Black Quarterback Club, I send out a tweet and an email blast, and that'll happen in about 2 months, anticipating that we can hold our event next year, and all they have to do is reach out, sign up, and they'll be invited and accepted. Deshaun and I have been working together since his first snap in the NFL, so it's always been a good thing to just see the maturation and how he's gotten better and how he's improved. And the way that he's done that is he just sees the game so much better. I just remember watching his first game that he started on a Thursday night in Cincinnati. He made the big plays, but some of the small, consistent things that you would expect from like a long-term NFL vet, he wasn't doing. And to see him do those things consistently, week in and week out, make all the small plays that you're expected to make as an NFL quarterback, but also being able to do the Superman heroic things that he's able to do on a weekly basis, that's the coolest part about it, because those are the things that we work in and day out. It's not really a shock at all in terms of seeing where his progress is taking him to. He's been a winner at every single level. Whatever you give him, he's going to quickly figure it out and become very, very good at it. I'm really confident that Deshaun's going to win a Super Bowl at some point in his career. And I hope it's really soon, and then we can start building on one and then make it two.